The symphony of a bustling kitchen, the sizzle of butter, the rhythmic chop of knives, the fragrant steam rising from simmering stocks. This was the only music I truly understood. For 30 years, I, Chef Julian Thorne, had been the executive chef at Gastronomy Group, presiding over its flagship restaurant, the Gilded Spoon. My hands, scarred from countless burns and cuts, moved with the intuitive grace of a conductor, transforming raw ingredients into culinary masterpieces. The Gilded Spoon wasn't just a restaurant, it was my canvas, my sanctuary, a place where flavors danced and memories were forged. My legacy was etched into every perfectly seared scallop, every delicate reduction, every meticulously plated dish that earned us Michelin stars and a loyal following. But on this particular Thursday, the harmony shattered. A jarring, discordant note cut through the familiar, comforting chaos. A shadow, not of a passing waiter, but of a presence as alien as a microwave in a Michelin kitchen, fell across my gleaming stainless steel pass. Cassandra Hayes, Gastronomy Group's newly appointed CEO, materialized beside me. Her smile, a practiced, almost predatory curve, was as cold and unyielding as a frozen block of foie gras. "Chef Thorne," she purred, her voice devoid of genuine warmth, "we appreciate your foundational contributions. However, the board has decided to implement a more streamlined approach to culinary operations. We're calling it Project Flavor Flow." Behind her, Liam Miller, the new head of culinary efficiency, nodded vigorously, his eyes fixed on his sleek, minimalist tablet. He was barely 30, fresh from a fast food logistics firm, brimming with theories but utterly lacking in the tactile wisdom of a true culinarian. He saw our intricate recipes as mere processes, not living, breathing works of art, a testament to human creativity and painstaking refinement. His youth, I realized with a bitter pang, was not just a generational gap, it was a chasm of understanding, a void where true appreciation for the craft should reside. "Project Flavor Flow," I echoed, my voice a low rumble, my gaze still fixed on the delicate foam I was preparing. A subtle, almost imperceptible tremor ran through my hands, a tremor that mirrored the sudden unease in my gut. Intriguing. Because unless my palate deceives me, the final tasting for the Celestial Soufflé, Batch 7, our signature dessert for the governor's gala tonight, has just flatlined. Cassandra's brittle smile fractured, a hairline crack appearing in her carefully constructed composure. Liam, startled from his digital reverie, finally looked up, his youthful confidence momentarily shaken. "What are you talking about, Chef Thorne? All automated ingredient tracking reports are green. Check the raw sensory data, Mr. Miller," I instructed, my voice calm, yet carrying the undeniable weight of impending disaster. Not the aggregated dashboard. The direct output from the taste profile analyzer. Batch 7 is experiencing a critical molecular instability, and without immediate manual intervention, we lose the entire batch. And its invaluable reputation. Cassandra's face, usually so composed, drained to a sickly pallor like an overcooked meringue. "You're bluffing, Thorne. Our systems are fully automated." Her tone was dismissive, a habit I'd grown to loathe, a constant reminder of her disdain for anything she couldn't quantify on a spreadsheet. I turned from the pass, my gaze sweeping across the faces of the young cooks and pastry chefs I had mentored, the very team Cassandra now sought to dismantle. Their expressions mirrored my own quiet dread, a shared understanding of the precipice we stood upon. "The automated failsafes are designed for minor fluctuations," I explained, my voice carrying across the hushed kitchen, each word a deliberate, heavy stone. "Not for a Class 3 molecular cascade. Only a direct, coded override, manually uploaded via the secure culinary interface, can stabilize it. And that override requires my unique biometric and algorithmic signature." A quiet, almost imperceptible click echoed in the silence as I placed my security fob on the pass, the final, deliberate act of a man who knew precisely what he was doing. It wasn't a threat, it was a statement of fact, a declaration of my irreplaceable value, a truth they were about to learn the hard way. Cassandra took a step back, her eyes wide with dawning horror, the mask of composure finally cracking. "You wouldn't dare jeopardize the entire gala menu." Her voice rose, a shrill note of panic, echoing off the high ceilings. I walked towards the main kitchen exit, the heavy swinging doors looming like a final curtain. "The governor's gala starts in 4 hours," I stated, my voice echoing slightly in the sudden silence. "The entire presentation of Gastronomy Group hinges on the Celestial Soufflé's perfect rise, a $100 million catering contract. You might want to figure out how to get those desserts stabilized with their signature perfection before then." Otherwise, it will be quite a difficult conversation. The words hung in the air, a prophecy of their impending doom. The cold, echoing silence from the kitchen was my only reply. As the heavy doors hissed shut behind me, carrying me down to the underground parking garage beneath Gastronomy Group's gleaming Chicago headquarters, I could already hear the frantic whispers escalating into shouts, a symphony of panic replacing the hum of purpose. My old Ford F-150, a loyal companion through countless late nights, sat in my usual spot. The very spot Liam Miller had, just last week, attempted to reassign to his fresh-faced, utterly inexperienced intern, citing executive access privileges. I settled behind the wheel, the quiet hum of the engine, a stark, unsettling counterpoint to the impending chaos that would soon engulf the glass tower above. Chapter 2. The Unsavory Recipe. 2:55 p.m. My phone, a relentless harbinger of the storm, began to vibrate, its discordant jingle echoing in the confined space of the garage. I ignored it. For 30 years, that phone had been a lifeline, connecting me to farmers, fishermen, and fellow culinary artists across the globe. Today, it was a symbol of their desperation, a desperation I had, with careful deliberation, orchestrated. I had not merely worked for Gastronomy Group. I had breathed life into its very reputation for groundbreaking culinary innovation and unwavering quality. It began 30 years ago, in a cramped, sun-drenched bistro in rural Vermont. There, I meticulously designed and refined the intricate flavor profiles for our first experimental dishes, transforming abstract ingredients into tangible experiences of delight and precision. My mentor, Chef Arthur Sterling Sr., Gastronomy Group's founder, was the visionary, the one who charmed critics and painted grand pictures of a new era in fine dining. I was the silent artist, the one who orchestrated the intricate dance of molecular gastronomy, ingredient sourcing, and sensory integrity, the relentless pursuit of culinary perfection. We were partners then, a shared passion built not just on ambition, but on unwavering trust and an almost obsessive commitment to enduring quality. The first subtle tremor in that foundation emerged 5 years ago. My mentor, weary but content, had retired, passing the torch to his hand-picked successor, Cassandra Hayes. Cassandra, a rising star plucked from the glittering, fast-paced world of corporate mergers and acquisitions, spoke in endless, hollow pronouncements of disruptive innovation and lean kitchen operations. She saw a robust, meticulously crafted culinary process not as a testament to resilience, but as an overly complex legacy infrastructure, a relic to be discarded. Her words were like a blight, slowly withering the passion I had for my work. The warning signs, initially, were whispers. She'd sweep into critical food critic presentations, utterly unprepared, then interrupt me mid-discussion, suggesting cost-cutting measures that threatened long-standing, ironclad relationships with the very local farmers and artisanal producers who trusted our judgment. She unilaterally dismantled our dedicated taste-testing panel, replacing them with an impersonal, AI-driven flavor analysis system that, with infuriating regularity, flagged legitimate, handcrafted nuances as inefficient, a testament to its blindness, not our precision. But the true shift, the insidious corrosion, began when she brought in Liam Miller. A young, ambitious MBA, he was ostensibly hired to assist with global menu optimization. Yet, Liam, with a chilling predictability, spent most of his time shadowing my every move, asking pointed, probing questions about our proprietary flavor algorithms, the intricate backup systems, and the fail-safe protocols that were the very sinews of our kitchen's resilience. 2 months ago, I caught Liam attempting to extract data from my encrypted, intensely personal recipe archives. When confronted, he stammered, claiming Cassandra had authorized it for redundancy and future scalability. When I pressed Cassandra, her dismissal was swift and dismissive. Standard protocol for a forward-thinking company. The casual disregard for my expertise was a constant, dull ache. Then, last week, the questions began to sharpen. Cassandra started asking unsettlingly specific details about my personal biometric authorization key for the Celestial Soufflé's molecular stability protocol. She claimed the board, in its infinite wisdom, was concerned about single-point vulnerabilities and demanded multi-factor authentication for all critical functions. I, ever the loyal chef, told her I'd consider implementing a phased rollout. I should have known then. Should have seen the storm gathering. I should have realized Liam wasn't a helping hand, but a tool for dismantling my very essence within the company. I should have understood that every process I'd refined, every proprietary technique I'd painstakingly developed, was being systematically cataloged, dissected, and prepared for my inevitable, orchestrated departure. But hope, a stubborn, foolish thing, still clung to me. I trusted Gastronomy Group. I trusted the enduring legacy my mentor had poured his life into. My wife, Maria, with the quiet wisdom of years, saw it all. She'd watched me return home, the vibrant passion I once held for my work slowly eroding, replaced by a weary frustration. She listened, patiently, as I recounted meetings, where Cassandra would casually dismiss my 30 years of hard-won expertise, only to parade my ideas as her own, at the next quarterly review. "She's not just undermining you, Julian," Maria had warned me, her voice soft but firm, over a quiet dinner last month. "She's stripping away your value piece by piece. When she's done, there'll be nothing left but a ghost in the machine, a hollow shell of what you built." Her words, though painful, resonated with a truth I was only just beginning to accept. 5 minutes left. The call, the one I had known was coming, arrived with chilling punctuality. Cassandra Hayes' name, a stark white against the dark screen, flashed on my phone. "Julian, we need to talk. This instant." Her voice, usually so composed, held a tremor, the first crack in her facade. "No, we don't," I replied, my own voice a steady anchor in the swirling chaos. "Listen, perhaps I was overly direct in there. The board has been demanding aggressive changes, pushing for transformative leadership. I was trying to protect you, Julian, truly." The familiar lie. A threadbare cloak she'd worn for months. The same threadbare cloak she'd used when she took credit for my groundbreaking work. When she hired Liam behind my back. When she began systematically excluding me from decisions about the very culinary platforms I'd meticulously crafted. The celestial soufflé, batch 7, is initiating molecular instability cascade in 4 minutes, Cassandra. "Okay, look. What do you want? We can offer you a substantial severance package, an executive consulting role, generous stock options." I almost laughed. A hollow, bitter sound. Just minutes ago, she dismissed me in front of the entire board, as if I were some junior dishwasher caught pilfering silverware. Now she was desperate. Now she wanted to negotiate. The power had shifted. "I want you to understand something, Cassandra," I said, my tone low, deliberate, each word a stone placed carefully. "For 30 years, I've dedicated my life to building a reputation for unparalleled culinary precision that made you and Gastronomy Group incredibly wealthy. I've covered for your operational oversights, fixed the systemic problems you created with your disruptive innovations, and watched you claim credit for work I did with my own hands. I'm not finished. You brought Liam in to systematically learn my job so you could dispose of me. You've been planning this for months, perhaps longer. The only variable you didn't account for was this. 3 minutes. Through the thick concrete walls of the parking garage, I could discern distant shouts, the frantic, almost desperate revving of car engines as people scrambled to escape. Someone, no doubt, was racing to the main kitchen, foolishly believing they could manually override the compensation sequence. They couldn't. I'd learned years ago to build fail-safes into fail-safes, to protect Gastronomy Group's critical culinary processes even from itself. More accurately, from its incompetent leadership. "What do you want?" Cassandra's voice, now truly tinged with genuine panic, cracked through the speaker, a desperate plea. "I want you to remember this moment," I said, my voice unwavering. "I want you to remember that for 30 years I was fiercely loyal to Gastronomy Group. I believed in this company, believed in what we were building together, and you carelessly threw it all away because you were too afraid of appearing anything less than ruthless in front of your board." 2 minutes. "The governor's gala starts in 58 minutes, I continued, my voice chillingly calm, a quiet pronouncement of doom. $100 million catering contract. Without the celestial soufflé's perfect rise, you've got nothing to present, nothing to prove. Without the client database, you don't even have their direct contact information." I could hear muffled voices in the background now, a chorus of rising panic, people shouting instructions, keyboards clicking frantically, uselessly. How do I fix this, Julian?" Cassandra pleaded, her voice barely a whisper. 1 minute. "You don't," I said, and with a quiet click, ended the call. I started my F-150, the engine purring a low, satisfied rumble, and slowly drove towards the exit. In 60 seconds, every light in the Gilded Spoon's kitchen would flicker into darkness. Every precision oven would go silent. Every molecular gastronomy station, every blast chiller, every piece of critical equipment that kept the global enterprise running would grind to a halt. And for the first time in 30 years, Cassandra Hayes would have to solve a problem without me. Chapter 3. The Gathering Storm. The global culinary shutdown at Gastronomy Group lasted precisely 5 hours and 12 minutes. I knew this with an almost detached certainty, for I was comfortably seated in the chef's table bistro, a tranquil eatery overlooking the Chicago River. There, I savored a late lunch, observing the unfolding chaos on the news channel mounted above the bar. Luxury restaurant chain experiences unprecedented kitchen halt, scrolled the urgent banner across the screen, while a visibly flustered reporter stood outside the darkened Gastronomy Group headquarters, interviewing bewildered employees who had been summarily sent home. My phone, a relentless digital tormentor, rang incessantly. Cassandra, 19 times. Liam, 12. Liam Miller, from Culinary Efficiency, 3 times. I allowed them all to drift into the void of voicemail. At 4 p.m., the kitchen lights finally flickered back to life, a faint, tentative glow. I understood the desperate measures. They had, no doubt, summoned an emergency engineering team, bypassed the molecular stability protocol, and were now painstakingly attempting to restart critical cooking stations from scratch. It would be a Sisyphean task, taking them days, perhaps weeks, to restore full functionality and, more critically, to address the gaping quality issues I had, by my absence, left exposed. At 4:37 p.m., my phone chimed with a number I didn't recognize. Mr. Thorne, this is attorney Elias Vance from Vance & Associates. I represent Gastronomy Group. We need to discuss your highly disruptive actions today. A lawyer, Cassandra, predictably, was already activating her legal cavalry. I haven't done anything illegal, Mr. Vance, I stated, my voice calm, unyielding. Sabotage is a federal offense, Mr. Thorne. Intentionally disrupting critical corporate infrastructure, causing massive financial harm to a multinational corporation. The U.S. Attorney's Office might be very interested in your activities. A faint, almost imperceptible smile touched my lips. They truly believed they could intimidate me with legal threats, the same worn-out tactic Cassandra had employed for months with her veiled threats to my job security. I implemented a standard, board-approved security protocol designed to protect sensitive company data and ensure culinary integrity, I clarified, each word a precise cut. The system worked exactly as intended. If Gastronomy Group no longer employs qualified personnel to operate their proprietary technology, that's not my problem, Mr. Vance. You deliberately created a situation where you were the only individual who could restore critical global operations, he countered, his voice hardening, a hint of frustration creeping in. I created a situation where the executive chef had to authorize system recalibrations. I was the executive chef until approximately 2:30 p.m. today. The lawyer fell silent for a moment, a pause heavy with his dawning realization. Mr. Thorne, I think you're severely underestimating the gravity of your situation. The governor's gala catering contract, worth $100 million, was irrevocably lost due to your actions. Multiple other high-profile international clients experienced critical service disruptions and culinary quality issues, resulting in substantial penalties. The cumulative damages could easily reach into the hundreds of millions. Hundreds of millions. Cassandra, no doubt, had fed him inflated, panic-driven figures, hoping to scare me into immediate, desperate compliance. The governor's gala contract was lost because Cassandra Hayes fired her executive chef 10 minutes before a critical event, I asserted, my voice unwavering. Poor management decisions and a blatant lack of foresight are not my responsibility, Mr. Vance. We have compelling documentation showing you created unauthorized access restrictions, implemented shutdown protocols without official board approval, and deliberately withheld crucial information necessary for continued global business operations. Now, the full picture emerged. They weren't merely threatening me with criminal charges. They were meticulously building a civil case, a calculated attempt to claim I'd maliciously sabotaged the company. Cassandra intended to sue me for damages, to strip me of everything I owned, to financially ruin me so completely that I could never again pose a competitive threat. Document this, Mr. Vance, I said, my voice laced with steel, a quiet promise. Any legal action taken against me will result in full, public disclosure of all Gastronomy Group's culinary vulnerabilities. Every bypassed quality check, every compromised ingredient supplier, every reckless shortcut Cassandra and Liam approved against my vehement recommendations. Let's see how many luxury clients, how many food critics, want to work with a company whose former executive chef testifies under oath that their award-winning dishes are fundamentally flawed, negligently prepared, and ripe for catastrophic food safety failures. The line went quiet, the silence a testament to his shock. "You're threatening to reveal proprietary information, Mr. Thorne. That's a serious accusation. I'm promising to tell the unvarnished truth about the company's actual culinary capabilities and its leadership's critical failings under oath. If necessary," I corrected him, my resolve unshakable. I hung up, and with a quiet sigh, ordered another cup of coffee. 20 minutes later, Cassandra called again. "Julian, we need to meet face to face. No lawyers, no board members, just us. Please, this is spiraling out of control. We used to be colleagues. Perhaps there's a way to resolve this that works for everyone involved." I considered her plea. Cassandra was genuinely scared now, stripped bare of her corporate armor, realizing that hollow legal threats wouldn't make her insurmountable problems vanish. She desperately needed something from me, and for the first time, she was finally ready to negotiate from a position of absolute, abject weakness. "The Chef's Table Bistro on the Chicago River," I said. "1 hour. I'll be there." But even as I spoke the words, a quiet certainty settled within me. She wouldn't come alone. Chapter 4. The Master's Gambit. Cassandra arrived 43 minutes later, Liam Miller trailing in her wake like a shadow. I watched them through the bistro window, a detached observer. Cassandra, a portrait of haggard desperation, paced frantically outside, her movements jerky and uncoordinated. Liam, slumped in the passenger seat of a sleek black sedan I didn't recognize, seemed to shrink further into himself. A company car, no doubt. Another fleeting perk Cassandra had authorized for her rapidly diminishing favor with her new preferred employee. They settled across from me in a secluded corner booth, the polished wood reflecting their strained faces. Cassandra looked as if she hadn't slept in days, her eyes sunken and bloodshot, betraying the toll of her self-inflicted crisis. Liam avoided all eye contact, his face pale and clammy, the picture of a young man terrified of the precipice he found himself on. The kid was clearly nervous, probably terrified about what his unwitting role in today's chaotic events might cost him. "Coffee?" I offered, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing on my lips. Cassandra shook her head, her movements abrupt. "Let's just get to business, Julian. What's it going to take to make this go away?" Her voice was hoarse, stripped of its usual corporate polish. "Make what go away?" I inquired, feigning innocence. "Don't play games, Julian. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The legal threats, the culinary vulnerabilities, all of it. Name your price." Her desperation was palpable, a bitter perfume in the air. I leaned back into the booth, crossing my arms, a picture of calm authority. "You truly think this is about money, Cassandra?" "Everything's about money, Julian. Always has been. Always will be." That was Cassandra Hayes in a nutshell. Her world, reduced to cold hard cash, profit margins, and quarterly reports. She'd never understood that some people worked for reasons far beyond their bank account balance, for the sheer love of creation, for the pursuit of excellence. "Tell me something," I pressed, my voice a quiet, insistent probe. "How long have you been planning to terminate me?" Cassandra glanced uneasily at Liam, a flicker of accusation in her eyes, then back at me. "It wasn't personal, Julian. Just strategic restructuring. The board's mandate." "How long?" I repeated, my gaze unwavering. 6 months, maybe 8. The board wanted dramatic changes, wanted to bring in younger, more agile talent, reduce operational costs. "Liam's salary is 65% of what we were paying you. 8 months. While I was working countless overtime hours, meticulously perfecting the molecular stability for the celestial souffle, ensuring its flawless integrity, Cassandra was already systematically planning my replacement. While I was patiently mentoring Liam, genuinely believing I was training a promising apprentice, he was meticulously studying my craft, not to learn, but to usurp. "Did you ever intend to keep me on as a consultant?" I asked, a final test of her honesty. "Originally, yes," Cassandra admitted, avoiding my gaze, her voice barely a whisper. "But then you started asking pointed questions about our new ingredient sourcing, making comments about unacceptable flavor profiles. The board felt you might become a bottleneck, a liability to our new menu goals. A bottleneck because I insisted on uncompromising quality, on dishes that would delight palates for generations, not just quarterly reports. A liability because I dared to question some of Cassandra's technically unsound decisions in front of influential clients and board members, prioritizing enduring craftsmanship and culinary precision over her reckless pursuit of speed and cost-cutting. Show him the contract," Cassandra grunted to Liam, her voice strained. Liam, trembling slightly, pulled a sleek folder from his jacket and slid it across the table. Inside was a consulting agreement, a paltry offering of $100,000 to provide technical transition assistance for 90 days. $100,000? I scoffed, a genuine, mirthless laugh escaping me. For 30 years of irreplaceable institutional knowledge, every blueprint of our most complex recipes, and my intellectual property? That's what you call a generous offer, considering the circumstances? Cassandra's face tightened, a mask of fury struggling to contain her desperation. I picked up the contract, its glossy paper feeling flimsy in my hands, and began to read through it. Standard non-disclosure language, restrictive non-compete clauses, and a particularly insidious section requiring me to provide complete, detailed documentation and all-access credentials for all culinary processes and proprietary techniques developed during my employment. They wanted me to hand over everything, every secret adjustment, every unique finishing technique, every intricate calibration I'd built to ensure Gastronomy Group's legendary precision. And in exchange, they'd pay me what Cassandra probably spent on her weekly penthouse floral arrangements. There's one rather significant problem with this, Cassandra, I stated, closing the folder with a soft, decisive thwack. What's that? She demanded, her voice sharp. You assume I have any desire whatsoever to continue working with you, or for Gastronomy Group. Cassandra's face hardened, her eyes blazing with a desperate, cornered fury. Julian, be reasonable. You're unemployed. You're facing potential federal criminal charges, and your reputation in this industry is going to be utterly destroyed when word gets out about today's debacle. This is your chance to walk away with something. Anything. My reputation? I smiled, a cold, unyielding smile that reached only my lips. Industrial sabotage isn't exactly a selling point for future employers, is it? Cassandra, I continued, leaning forward, my voice resonating with an authority she no longer possessed, a quiet storm gathering. Do you know who called me this morning? She looked genuinely confused, her brow furrowed. What do you mean? At 7:30 a.m., before I even arrived at the Gilded Spoon's kitchen, I received a phone call from Arthur Sterling at Culinary Renaissance. He wanted to discuss a critical leadership position, their new chief culinary innovator. Seems they've been meticulously watching my work for months, particularly impressed with the precision and unique flavor profiles I applied to the celestial soufflé and other signature dishes. Liam's eyes widened in dawning horror, a silent gasp escaping his lips. Cassandra went utterly pale, a sickly green hue washing over her face, as if all the blood had drained from her veins. The job pays twice what you were paying me, I continued, relishing the moment, the words a hammer blow, plus substantial stock options and a very generous signing bonus. You're lying, Cassandra stammered, but her voice lacked any conviction, a mere whisper of defiance. I pulled out my phone, its screen a beacon of truth, and showed her the missed call log. 7 missed calls from Culinary Renaissance between 7:30 a.m. and 2 p.m., all from Arthur Sterling. I paused, letting the information sink in. He called back during your little board meeting, Cassandra. Left a voicemail asking if I was interested in discussing immediate opportunities. Funny thing is, he already knew I was leaving Gastronomy Group. Said he'd heard rumors that significant management upheavals were imminent regarding our culinary leadership. Cassandra's face went utterly white, a ghostly pallor. That's impossible. Is it? I challenged, my gaze piercing. Who's been handling the Governor's Gala catering contract negotiations for the past 6 months? Who's been providing them with detailed insights into our culinary capabilities and quality control issues? The truth, a brutal, undeniable force, hit her like a freight train, visible in the sudden, gut-wrenching realization that contorted her features. Maria Vance, the board member who'd been pushing hardest for operational changes and cost efficiency, was also the former chief operations officer of Culinary Renaissance's main competitor, Epicurean Enterprises. She'd been meticulously feeding crucial, high-level information to Culinary Renaissance for months, helping them understand exactly what Gastronomy Group's true culinary capabilities were, and more importantly, who was truly responsible for them. Maria set this up, Cassandra whispered, a tremor of pure terror in her voice. She orchestrated my downfall. She's been subtly recruiting me since January, I confirmed, my gaze steady, unflinching. Discreet conversations at industry summits, casual questions about my satisfaction with current management, subtle hints about better, more aligned opportunities. I turned him down, Cassandra, because I thought I owed you loyalty. 30 years of it. Liam was staring at the table, his eyes wide, probably realizing that his brand new job, the one he'd so eagerly snatched, might not be as secure as he'd naively thought. If Culinary Renaissance, armed with my knowledge, poached Gastronomy Group's key culinary personnel and acquired its core IP, they could undercut every catering contract and effectively steal the entire client base, leaving Gastronomy Group a hollow shell. But today changed my mind, I continued, watching the complete, devastating realization dawn in Cassandra's eyes, a slow, agonizing burn. When you summarily fired me in front of the entire board, you made it abundantly clear that 30 years of partnership, of unwavering trust, meant absolutely nothing. So, I called Arthur Sterling back. Cassandra frantically grabbed her phone, her fingers fumbling. I need to call Maria. I need to find out what she's planning. Too late for that. What do you mean? She stammered, her voice a desperate plea. I checked my watch, a theatrical gesture, savoring the moment of pure, unadulterated dread on her face. At 5 p.m. today, Culinary Renaissance is officially announcing the acquisition of Gastronomy Group's entire intellectual property portfolio. They've purchased the exclusive rights to our celestial soufflé designs, our proprietary flavor algorithms, and our unique molecular gastronomy protocols. That's impossible. We own those systems. Cassandra blustered, a last, futile attempt at defiance, but her voice was weak, defeated. You own the kitchens and the contracts. I own the patents and the trade secrets. The silence stretched across the table like an unbridgeable chasm, vast and suffocating. Cassandra's mouth opened and closed without a sound, a fish out of water, gasping for air. Liam looked like he might vomit right there in the booth, his face a sickly green. The patents, the trade secrets. Cassandra finally managed to croak, her voice barely a whisper, the words a death rattle. Filed meticulously in my name over the past 5 years, I finished for her, each word a nail in the coffin. Every major dish innovation, every unique flavor delivery solution, every piece of genuinely innovative culinary engineering. My lawyer assured me that as the actual inventor and developer, I retained all intellectual property rights and trade secrets, regardless of my employment agreements. It was true. My attorney had advised me years ago to file patents on my major innovations and meticulously document my unique processes, partly for protection and partly for the simple, well-earned pride of creation. I'd never once imagined I'd need them as leverage against my own company. The celestial soufflé designs alone are valued at $15 million in licensing fees, I continued, piling on the agony, each figure a fresh wound. The proprietary flavor algorithms are worth another $25 million. The unique molecular gastronomy protocols, sensory analysis methodologies, ingredient optimization techniques. Culinary Renaissance estimates the total portfolio value at a staggering $120 million. More than the $100 million catering contract Cassandra had just lost by firing me. More than Gastronomy Group's entire annual revenue. Enough, in fact, to put her company out of business if a direct competitor controlled this technology. You can't do this, Julian. Cassandra's voice was a desperate, raw rasp, a plea lost in the wind. I already did. Signed the exclusive licensing agreement an hour ago. Culinary Renaissance gets exclusive rights to my patents and trade secrets for 5 years. In exchange, I get a chief culinary innovator position, significant equity in their company, and 25% of all licensing revenue. Cassandra was staring at me as if I'd suddenly grown a second head, the same expression of bewildered disbelief she'd worn earlier when I told her about the molecular instability. The look of a woman realizing she'd catastrophically miscalculated, that her ruthless ambition had led her to ruin. What happens to Gastronomy Group? Liam asked quietly, his voice barely a whisper, tinged with a desperate hope. That depends entirely on Cassandra, I said, meeting Liam's gaze squarely, my answer a cold, hard truth. Culinary Renaissance is willing to negotiate a licensing agreement that would let you continue using my patents and trade secrets for a fee. How much? Cassandra managed to choke out, the word barely audible. 60% of gross revenue. The number hung in the air like a death sentence, sealing Gastronomy Group's inevitable, agonizing fate. Chapter 5. The sweet taste of victory. The bankruptcy filing, when it finally came 8 weeks later, felt less like a shock and more like the inevitable settling of dust after a long, violent storm. I was comfortably seated in my new, spacious test kitchen at Culinary Renaissance's bustling new facility in San Francisco, the city lights twinkling outside my panoramic window. I was reviewing intricate bespoke menu designs for a major celebrity event in Los Angeles when my assistant, a bright young woman named Sarah, brought me the news. Gastronomy Group had filed for Chapter 11 protection, citing unsustainable operational costs and the unforeseen loss of critical intellectual property and trade secrets. The words, though expected, still carried a faint echo of the past. Cassandra, predictably, had fought tooth and nail. She'd hired 4 different law firms, each more aggressive than the last, challenging my patent claims in federal court, even attempting to have me arrested for corporate espionage. But truth, unlike ambition, is unyielding. Nothing stuck. The patents were legitimately filed and unequivocally mine. The licensing agreement with Culinary Renaissance was ironclad, and my departure from Gastronomy Group had been entirely her choice, orchestrated by her own short-sighted hand. She'd also tried, with a foolish, desperate bravado, to operate without my patented systems and undocumented techniques. For 3 agonizing weeks, Liam and a hastily assembled team of contractors attempted to rebuild the entire culinary infrastructure from scratch, scrambling to create new methods to replace the sophisticated, patented algorithms and proprietary flavor analysis processes. The results were catastrophic. Celestial soufflé batches failed critical taste tests, molecular gastronomy protocols malfunctioned, and the final presentation for Gastronomy Group's largest client, a major national hotel chain in New York, went down for 48 grueling hours, causing widespread catering failures and massive financial losses throughout their network. The lawsuits, a relentless tide, followed swiftly and mercilessly. The hotel chain sued for breach of contract. 3 other key national clients immediately terminated their agreements. Culinary Renaissance, now armed with my proven, reliable systems and a pristine reputation for genuine innovation, swept in to capture every abandoned contract, establishing itself as the undisputed leader in bespoke culinary experiences. Maria Vance, the former board member, who had played her own subtle game, quietly resigned from the Gastronomy Group board 2 days before the bankruptcy filing. She'd already accepted a lucrative consulting position with Culinary Renaissance, helping to seamlessly integrate newly acquired assets and strategically transition former Gastronomy Group clients to our superior culinary capabilities. Her foresight, like mine, had paid off. Liam Miller lasted precisely 4 months before Cassandra, in a final desperate act of corporate self-preservation, had to let him go. The kid, for all his ambition, simply wasn't qualified for the critical position he'd been hired to fill. And without my patented systems and undocumented techniques to maintain, there wasn't enough specialized technical work to justify his exorbitant salary. He ended up taking a junior analyst job with a small consulting firm in Denver, making barely half what Cassandra had so glibly promised him. A harsh lesson learned, no doubt. The final, crushing blow came when the bankruptcy court approved the asset sale. Culinary Renaissance purchased Gastronomy Group's client list, kitchen equipment, and the remaining scraps of intellectual property for less than Cassandra owed in accumulated legal fees. The company that had taken 30 years to meticulously build, the empire my mentor and I had painstakingly forged from the ground up, was liquidated in a single ignominious afternoon. A legacy reduced to a footnote. I didn't attend the auction. There was no need. Instead, I spent that Thursday morning working with my new, brilliant team on a comprehensive AI-driven personalized nutrition program for a bespoke commission for a renowned wellness resort in Arizona. This was real work. Intricate scientific and ethical challenges that truly mattered. High-impact projects that would be rightfully credited to the dedicated people who actually designed and implemented them, not to those who merely took credit. My wife, Eleanor, met me for lunch at a quaint local eatery near the Culinary Renaissance facility. She'd been my unwavering support through the entire tumultuous transition, a steadfast beacon in the storm, never questioning my decisions, never once suggesting I should have handled things differently. "Any regrets, my love?" she asked softly over our gourmet sandwiches and local craft beer, her eyes searching mine. I thought about it. Cassandra Hayes had systematically destroyed our partnership, betrayed 30 years of unshakable trust, and brazenly tried to steal credit for my life's singular work. But her short-sighted actions had also, ironically, freed me from a stagnant, toxic situation that was slowly but surely extinguishing my passion for the very craft I loved. It was a liberation, albeit a painful one. "None," I said, meeting her eyes, a deep sense of peace settling over me, a quiet triumph. She smiled, her expression warm and knowing. "Good, because Arthur Sterling called this morning. He wants to discuss significantly expanding your team here at Culinary Renaissance. He says they're forecasting unprecedented growth in global demand for your patented solutions and unique culinary expertise." My ideas were truly valued now. My critical contributions were not only recognized but celebrated, and my name proudly appeared on every new patent application. The generous signing bonus had completely paid off our mortgage, freeing us from that burden. The stock options would comfortably fund our retirement, securing our future. The substantial salary was more than enough to let Eleanor finally pursue her true passion, opening her own artisanal bakery full-time, something she'd dreamed about for years, a dream now within reach. The final chapter of Gastronomy Group, however, was written not in boardrooms or courtrooms, but in the quiet, desolate silence of empty kitchens. 6 months after its bankruptcy, a major luxury hotel chain, relying on Gastronomy Group's flawed Project Flavorflow models, experienced a catastrophic, unexpected foodborne illness outbreak during a high-profile event. The incident, widely reported in culinary journals and national news, served as a chilling cautionary tale. The true cost of prioritizing agility and superficial metrics over irreplaceable expertise, and the profound, empirical understanding of a master chef's touch. Cassandra Hayes, her career in tatters, vanished from the industry's radar, a cautionary whisper in executive circles. Liam Miller, after a brief, unremarkable stint in a minor tech firm, found himself out of the industry entirely, a casualty of a battle he never truly understood. Maria Vance, ever the pragmatist, continued her consulting work, her reputation enhanced by her timely departure from Gastronomy Group's sinking ship. And as for me, I found my true north. My name, once synonymous with a single company, now echoed across the grand kitchens of the world, a testament to the fact that some legacies are too vast, too deeply woven into the fabric of innovation, to ever be truly undone by a single, short-sighted decision.